Welcome everyone to the Pro Trade Room Plus. We're here for PPI retail sales initially. My name is Lee Goldstein, the trading director for 10-minute trades. Please remember all the trades we discuss are for educational purposes. Okay, everyone. So if you're wondering what caused this huge move in the markets about 20 minutes ago, not even, it was a report of Ukraine agreeing to a U.S. peace deal, but there's no news of whether Russia agrees. So it's really hard to know if it's going to have any meaning and if it's going to do anything more than make and create more volatility for this particular event. A couple of quick reminders for everyone. We have a webinar tomorrow at 3. It's our Black Friday educational blowout spectacular. Should be a lot of fun, a lot of education, and for new members, an unbelievable deal. New members. Nothing against existing members, but existing members, you all get to have fun trading with us, sharing ideas. So we're not feeling guilty that we don't have a unbelievable Black Friday deal for new members. We've got something in the works for end of the year, so just be patient if you're feeling like you're left out. We don't leave anyone out. So the webinar tomorrow is at 3 o'clock. It's going to be a nice refresh and update to the schedule. There are no trade rooms this evening. Those are very difficult liquidity events, Australia and New Zealand rate. And we just don't want to do unsafe trading on a holiday week and have people losing money when it's not necessary. So going to be particularly a little bit more careful this week than when I originally made the schedule. Now, I do want to welcome our friends that are out there. We are streaming this on YouTube. So let me just put the right screen on my laptop. And let's talk about PPI, CPI, PPI retail. Keep in mind if you are trading this, and if you are trading it with cash, margins are up in the brokerage accounts. They are raising margins, depending also on who your broker is. This is typical high risk trading if you're going to do a regular breakout. Give me half a second here. Streaming has started. I just have to turn it, make it so I can see it on my laptop because I'm a little bit overrun and I didn't fix my OBS chat yet. So I've got to fix the OBS chat. I got to do that sometime today. There is an 8:15 ADP employment weekly report. It didn't really do much to the market last week. I would normally look at gold on that report. And so here's a little bit of a shocker. And, we do a lot of testing on these reports. PPI and retail, it's very risky. Gold has been trading extremely riskily. That's not even a word. It's extremely risky. And we're seeing pretty strange behavior from gold. Also, when a trade is entered, we're seeing some weird behavior. I don't recall seeing that type of behavior before, where it's just very, very choppy. So right now the market has calmed down. from that big news about peace. But you can't ignore the fact that when you have an event that creates that kind of move in the market, it does increase risk. It just is part of the game. Now, just out of curiosity, somebody look at their NQ chart for me, would you? Look at your NQ chart for me. Make sure that when you go to data series, your trading hours is use instrument settings. And I just want to know, does your view up equal my view up? 24910.51 on the NQ. I'm just curious. Anybody got an NQ chart open? All right, so Ukraine continues peace plan talks with the U.S. I mean, I don't see any comment about Russia. I don't see any comment about Russia. What do you have, Francis, on a what time frame? Francis, 30-second time frame. 30-second time frame. You might be on a minute. Okay, fine. That's good. All right. That pretty much answers my question. That's fine. That was my guess. Ah, that's something I didn't realize. Interesting. Interesting. VWAP and time frame doesn't matter. You learn something new every day. Chantal, do me a favor. If I make a mistake in the room, text me privately. Don't show me up in the room, if you don't mind. I'm kidding. All right, listen. Did some last minute testing because of the concern that this is a very difficult report. And we don't have a fantastic setup. We did not have a fantastic setup. And, I'm always open to to member comments. Always open to member comments. In fact, I love member comments. And yesterday I just noticed in passing that Nitin said that he thought the euro looked interesting on PPI with retail. Now, the big problem is they have not really traded together all that much. But I decided I would go back in time and do some extra euro testing. And I actually really agree that trading the euro on this trade might be one of our safer possibilities. You could trade one contract, and gold, I think, is out of control, not safe. A trap trade you just can't be sure what kind of movement we'll get on a trap trade. It could easily blow up a trap trade, even with bigger tiers, PPI and retail. Just looking at the movement that we've already had on gold, 192 ticks up since the news dropped it down 200 ticks roughly. So it's completely recovered from the news move. Um, I'm not, I'm never trying to scare people. I'm just making people aware that this is high risk trading this morning for multiple reasons. The brokers think it's high risk and they raise their margins. Um, Two reports that don't always trade together. Huge news about peace somewhere in the world. General behavior of gold. Holiday week. You take all those elements, and you're talking about pretty significant risk. So there's a couple of things you can do. So the two instruments I'm looking at this morning, the Euro 60 1225. So how did I test the Euro? One of the issues is, how do you test an instrument um, when honestly PPI and retail, occasionally they trade together, but it's not like it's something that happens every time. And in fact, if you go back and look at the dates, it only happened last month. And then you have to go back quite a few months to find when it happened again. So what I did is I tested individual retail and PPI. Okay. All right, Francis. Francis, who happens to be an expert on programming, etc. So we've got a little battle here, a battle of the best. Francis versus Chantal about the VWAP and whether it's different on different time frames. All right. Anyway, point I'm trying to make is Euro in testing looked pretty interesting on retail and it looked pretty interesting on PPI. And you're going to have to trust me, I cannot find my video. Cannot find the video. Let me just look in one more place. And I know I made, oh, you know what? I know I'm not crazy. So give me half a second. All right, so I do have the video. What's interesting is the most I thought I had the video and it just disappeared, went flying off the top of my desktop. Let me try one more time, see if it's there. There it is. Just to give you an idea. So looking at October, when they actually traded together, and October was rather muted. Not much of a move. Then I went back, September, quite a big move. Very, very tradable September Euro move. And then checking retail and PPI. In other words, they weren't together, so I was checking multiple reports. So Euro does have a possibility of moving. All right, so VWAP is pretty much the same on all time frames. That's what we're coming up with. Bear with me. So we do have a setup for Euro. You can trade it with one contract. All right, let's take a quick look at the DMM that we have this morning. So it's hard to know for sure which is going to be the most important report today. And 2 minutes, minute and a half, ADP employment change. ADP employment change. So let's watch the market for a minute. We've got the euro. That's not, I don't think, all that meaningful for that particular report. Gold, I'm looking at. And then I would also look at possibly the NQ. Just for 45 seconds, just to see if there's any response. So last week they said no Fed rate cuts, then they changed it. Now they're thinking there will be Fed rate cuts in December. So there was an early move down. So ADP, not seeing the news yet. Gold has had a complete change of tone after the Ukraine news. A lot of chop in the NQ, just a whole bunch of chop. So I'm going to just minus 13.5K. So it's quite a bit more negative than expected. They were expecting, they did have no forecast. They had no forecast. So I'm just seeing choppy price action. So we need to talk about PPI. So we've got a possible euro, and that's a possible breakout. And you've got instruments that are very sensitive, I guess is the way that I would put it. I would consider this morning on the major news, maybe sticking with micros this morning. Um, if I were a cash trader, I don't think I would trade at the moment of the news. I think there's too much risk. And I think taking a trap trade on this news is risking close to $8 to $1,000 because of the size of the stop. You're risking a lot. Um, and you see how gold moved 200 ticks in a matter of 20 minutes, not that long. And our tier is 80, our outer tier. So 80 and 25 is the stop. You have 105 ticks of safety. There could be a move that goes much bigger than that. So I just think you want to trade carefully on this news this morning. So on the euro, on the euro, right click the chart, click strategy. It's a breakout. and we're putting the trade on 829.58. Now there is a micro euro M6E, and we've never really looked at it to see what the liquidity is on it. The bracket we've got is 15. And we've got targets of 15 and 30. So let's say that you're just trying to keep your risk down. You could trade one contract and trade a 30 tick target. So if I were going to trade one contract, I would choose target 2, which is 30. The stop is 25. And then if the market should move 20 ticks in my favor, I'd move the stop to break even plus 15. That's how I would trade a one contract trade on this report. $6.25 a tick, I believe, on the euro. Now, I will test the regular DMM on this to see if our setup makes sense. So it's a target of 15, a second target of 30. Should the market fill my first target, I would do a BE minus 6. Stop is 25. So I don't use the market move because I'm trading multiple positions. I'm going to label it 6E breakout. And I'm going to check the brackets. 829.58, bracket of 15, targets of 15 and 30. BE minus 6 with target 1 stop move and a 25 stop. Setting the time to 0 for a moment. I find it hard to believe. Okay, we're filling, if you notice, it's filling those orders right at the top of the candles, right at the high. Now we're in a very tight range because the markets waiting for news? Could be. I'm not so sure the euro is waiting as much as the US markets are waiting for news. But so let's go back. Strategy. Put the time back to 829.58. Bracket of 15. Targets of 15 and 30. Stop of 25. Target 1 stop move BE minus 6. Now, if you don't get a clean, good move on this, that could be problematic. The other thing, and I'm not trading this in my best of the best, it's just a regular prop account. It is possible that it's dull. So if it's dull and there's not a burst, I would probably cancel it. Because we have had dull reports with PPI and retail before. It's not out of the question. I'll also put a euro reverse continue on the chart. Change the breakout to reverse continuation. 2 contracts, 1 position. Just looking for 25 ticks. 35 stop. This is strictly discretionary just to have an order on the chart. Should the breakout not fill or immediately should stop or something of that sort, we'll just call it euro reverse. Apply that. Okay, now on gold, like I said, gold is, I think, super risk. I am just going to sim the gold trap. All right. You could, what is interesting on gold is you could do a magnet on gold high low. That is actually an interesting trade. It could burst and give you a rotten fill if it jumps and tests the high, just like any news trade. But when you look at the amount of ticks, just ballpark, it's 130 ticks to the high. So if it gets there, that would stop out your trap. So if it tests the high on a breakout, on a trap trade, I mean, that could stop out your trap. It's a pretty big move. The magnet might be the safest play on micro gold. You've got obviously your highs and lows, okay? So keep in mind you could do the exact same setup on micro gold. The stop would be a little bigger. I'm going to set up the trap at the moment. So let me do that first. Right click the chart. I just want to see if it works. I guess I'm willing to risk an account to see. It is definite risk this morning because of so many things going on. Position 1 is a 1, position 2 is a 1, 829.55. And the stop is 25. Tier 1 was 55. Tier 2 was 80. Label it trap. GC. And am I willing to risk a prop account for this trade? Or do we just think it makes sense to trade the euro? Um, I'll test it in a real account. $55 and $80 on the tiers. Apply it. Okay it. Number 23. And I'll put a reverse continue on the chart. Change the breakout to reverse continue. Just one position. A 40 tick target. A 40 tick stop. Strictly that's discretionary. Same account. And label it GC reversal continue. Apply it. Okay. Do I think it'll fill? I do think it'll fill. And I do think the magnet might be a very safe way to trade this report. So if I were setting up a magnet, there's not a lot of time here, folks. It's 8:27. High of day, low of day, proximity is a 3. Just one position. You got to use a 30 stop at least. You got to use a 30 stop at least. And I don't really have time to set this up properly this morning. So let's say I was going to do it, which I'm not. I'm going to go with what I set up. When you turn it on, I'd want my order to be just under 50 or right around 50 on the upside, on the downside, under 41.10. So those would be my orders. All right. I'm not leaving the magnet on. We'll know if it works. I'm probably being a little bit risky with the trap trade. I think a one contract euro trade is not such high risk that it makes an impossible moment, if you know what I mean. I'm, like I said, I would not personally be trading this in cash, not on a breakout on gold or a trap. Magnet, not as scary because you have much more control over the trade. But I'm fully aware that trading the trap can seriously damage the prop account if gold moves really a lot, more than 100 ticks. Okay. Now, PPI, is it up or down? Who knows if the producer price index is up? Retail sales, it's hard to believe that retail sales would be good, but every time there's a retail sales event, the consumer surprises and it's good. So we'll be watching the euro on the left. That usually is quick, and then the trap could take a little more time. Spread the orders a little bit. Okay, euro is a little bit worrisome because it didn't follow through. It did a nick fill, if you understand what I mean. So the trap filled one position, and if it euro looks like it's going to stop. Okay, euro didn't work. The trap, I would cancel my outer tier. Yeah, I'd try to get my stop to safety. And if the price moves up, it'll take me out. If it moves down, I'll trail. So it jolted up where you get that weird behavior out of gold. And even though it was in a profitable position, it still gave us a little bit negative slippage on that fill. So it was actually 9 ticks of difficult slippage on that fill. Now, if you did the magnet, so I'm turning off the 6E breakout. The 6E breakout did a nick fill. What's a nick fill? A nick fill is when a event fills right at the bracket, and then it reverses, does not follow through. And that's exactly what the euro did. Now, the trap, moving the stop prematurely, really is what caused that trap not to work. The trap really worked. It's if you stayed in and didn't move your stop. Because look, it's down from where we were, and it didn't challenge the stop. The stop was way up here. So I lost 9 ticks, which is not the end of the world. It's not blowing up an account or doing any damage to anything, but it did give an opportunity for profit also after 2 minutes. There is an opportunity for profit. However, nothing changes the fact over the risk and difficulty of this report today. So, I mean, ultimately, I didn't think anyone should take any risk except maybe a €1 trade, which would have been $150, $160 of risk if you took that euro trade, full size euro. Not the end of the world if it didn't work. Okay, and it didn't work. The euro did not work. And in fact, it's pushing to the downside. Do you want to take a short to the downside? I think we've already missed it, right? It popped up and you're really chasing it. Here you're chasing it. I'm not going to chase it and, make for more of a loss when I feel like the reversal was a long time ago. All right? There was a reversal signal and it was almost 2 minutes ago. So look, if you would have jumped in, you would have been working against you now. So you don't want to trade emotionally, jump and chase. Don't jump and chase. Gold, just being impatient and rushing, moving the stop too quickly caused a great gold trap from working. That's being honest here. A great gold trap could have worked. The news, when you look at it, if you believe it, PPI is down, producer prices are down. Anyone who believes that any prices are down is living in a fantasy world. There's not a single thing that's down that anyone pays for, except maybe gasoline. That's about it. Food and energy, PPI not including food and energies. That makes no sense. That's up. Retail sales, interestingly, down. So retail sales are down. So in a sense, you have mixed news. PPI theoretically good, retail bad. Mixed news creates two different types of results on two events, so you don't get a burst in just one direction. You get what we may have seen here today. You get a move up, a move down, then back up, which is good for a trap trade. Mixed news is good for a trap trade. Now, is the euro going to test the VWAP? Looks possible. Looks possible. So, PPI, retail. Let's look at a couple other things. Anyone trade anything else? Anyone trade anything else? NQ. So looking at an NQ, 1 minute chart, looks like a whipsaw candle. Did the MNQ whip on you, Nitin? Because the NQ looked like it had a pretty whippy candle on that news. Then looking at the YM. YM, if you look at the 1 minute candle, looks like it had an up and a down move also. So you need a huge stop if you're going to trade the indexes today on that report today. It would have had to have been a very big stop. RTY. Some reports, you're just better off watching. I mean, that's the reality. Some reports, you're better off watching. Reports that have very limited testing, right? When you have very limited testing, sometimes you're better off doing the magnet or watching, right? If the magnet doesn't fill, life does not end. Your life does not end. If the magnet doesn't fill, you just move on to the next event. It's not a problem. Now we're going to stick around for the oil open, okay? We're sticking around for the oil open, so I'm going to remove my setups. I'm going to thank everyone on YouTube for joining us, okay? Thank you, everyone. And I think we're streaming tomorrow. Let me take a quick look. Yeah, we're going to stream. Tomorrow's another very challenging morning. And we still have one more pretty challenging trade, consumer confidence, today. That's 10 o'clock. We'll pretty much be staying in the room for most of it. So we will be streaming on YouTube tomorrow for GDP. So we'll be back 8 o'clock